Okay, so cohort 1, this is the notes that you should have received on Wednesday when I saw you. So we are just going to go through this real fast, and then you can work on your homework, which is the backside. Okay, so we're still working on the Pythagorean theorem, but we are going to talk about it on a coordinate plane. Okay, the main thing that you guys have to know about Pythagorean theorem on a coordinate plane is that you cannot count. So if you're trying to find the hypotenuse, so an example A, if we're trying to find the distance between the point L and K, you cannot count over the squares to figure out how long that is. Okay, because if you notice, our squares do not line up by square units. Our line kind of just goes through some squares, and you can't really count anything. Okay, however, you can count your legs. So if you look at leg LN, because here's my right triangle, my right angle. If you look at LN, our points do line up with our square units. So I can determine how long point LN is by counting over the lines. So point LN, if I start at L, is 1, 2, 3 units long. And then I can do the same thing for my other leg. If I were to figure out how long KN is, once again, I could just count over. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So I know that side LN is 3 units long and KN is 4 units long. And if they want me to find the distance from L to K, well, that's my hypotenuse, and I can use the Pythagorean theorem to solve for C. So over here on the side, I'm going to solve my Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Fill in my legs, so 3 squared and 4 squared equals c squared. And then simplify, so 3 squared is 9, 4 squared is 16, 9 plus 16 is 25. And then last step to get c by itself is take the square root on both sides. So the square root of 25 is 5. So it's still doing the exact same thing that we have been doing, besides you are going to have to count to figure out your side lengths for the legs, and then you'll have to use the Pythagorean theorem to solve for c. Okay? So let's do one more, then I'll have you guys try c on your own. So find the distance between the two given points. So they want you to find this distance, okay? Again, because our 2 points do not line up horizontally or vertically, you cannot count over the boxes and try to figure that out, because notice how we got 5 up here. If I were to try to count over 5, it would be kind of impossible on how they got that, okay? So what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to form a right triangle in order to count your legs to use the Pythagorean theorem to solve for this distance. So there's a couple different ways you guys could do this. You could go up and over to create your right triangle, or you can go over and up here, okay? So you just need to form a right triangle, so it's where the 2 points are going to meet at. So if I were to keep extending my lines over, this point right here is where they would meet at, and that's where it's going to form my right angle, okay? So once again, if I'm trying to solve for c over here, I need to determine what my legs are, so just count over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this length down here is 7 units long. Count this height, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this height is 6 units long, and then use your Pythagorean theorem to solve for c. So I'll do this pretty quickly. 49, 36. That gives me 85. And then last step to get c by itself, square root on both sides. So then the square root of 85 is, let me find my calculator. And it's a long decimal, so we can just round it to the nearest tenth. So I can round it to 9.2. Okay, so you guys go ahead and try C. All right, make sure you guys are plotting your points correctly, because if you do not plot your points correctly, then you will get the wrong answer. So go ahead and try out C, and then we'll go through it here in a second. Okay, so you guys should be done with C by now. So let's go ahead and plot our points. So it says your house is located at -4, -2, so that was right here. The grocery was at 2, -2. And the mall is at 2, 6. So that's where your points should have been plotted at. And then I can go ahead and fill in my lines. And obviously, if your points do not create a right triangle, then you know that you did something wrong. So that's one way to know if you plotted your points correctly. But they want us to find the distance from the house to the mall. So once again, that is your hypotenuse, because that's the angle opposite of the right angle. Or sorry, that's the side that's opposite of the right angle. So I just need to figure out my legs, the lengths of my legs, to figure out what to plug in for the Pythagorean theorem. So this leg down here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This leg is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So when I go to plug it in my Pythagorean theorem, I get 6 squared plus 8 squared equals c squared. 6 squared is 36. 8 squared is 64. 36 plus 64 is 100. And then take the square root on both sides, and you guys should have got an answer of 10. All right. So good job if you got that. Backside is your homework. So the homework will be due on Wednesday, so just make sure you complete it by then. I do want to go through number 1, because it seems like students are making number 1 a lot harder than what it needs to be. So for the first part, they want you to find the distance between the 2 points. And notice how these 2 points are a horizontal line. Well, am I allowed to count the square units on a horizontal line? Yeah, I can. So all I have to do for number 1 is just count over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this answer is going to be 5. Okay? On the diagonals, which are all the rest of these problems, you're going to have to create your right triangle and then use your Pythagorean theorem to solve for the diagonal. Okay? So again, just have that done by Wednesday, and then let me know if you have any questions.